So welcome to step 3. In this step, we're going to look at mindset. This is a really important step. This is where we look at how do millionaires and even billionaires think differently from the masses, and then how can you take some of their thought patterns, their thought habits, and start adopting them as your own to manifest much better financial results in life. And I will tell you this, it doesn't matter how many tactics or how many strategies you get. If you don't have the right mindset for doing well in business, you're not going to do well in business. Okay, so it doesn't come down to the training. Training is very important, but first you need to have the foundations of having the right mindset. So I'm going to take you a few different thinking patterns here. Some of this might challenge you, by the way, but I want you to approach this with an open mind. And by the way, big congratulations if you're here. Did you know that less than 45% of people make it to this step? Less than 45%. So half of people haven't even got to step 3. That's why I tell you, forget about average results, because the average effort is really not that much. And if you're here, I'm sure you can already see that. You are definitely not average anymore. You're beyond average. Keep on going. Keep up this momentum. Okay, so here's what we're going to look at in this step. The real difference in how wealthy, financially free people think compared to those who continuously struggle with money. I'm sure you've met people like that before. People who never seem to have any money and always seem to struggle with money and always need to borrow money. Why do they remain like that? We're also going to look at how decades of mental conditioning have created your current financial situation and how to change all of that conditioning, years and years of it. How do you change those thinking patterns? Also, we will look at how to end the financial crippling habits of procrastination and fear of making mistakes once and for all. We will also look at the fuel to your fire, identifying the main driver or your reason why behind building a business and leveraging it to create massive momentum. You need to have a really big reason why if you want to do exceptionally well in this business. So the first place I want to start is when most of my clients get started and they go through a training program just like this and they decide they want to make a lot of money online through their own online business. One of the biggest challenges that we have is that they have never ran a business before and they've spent many years of their life working for someone else as an employee. Now, the mindset of an employee is very different to what it needs to be as a business owner if you want to be successful in business. They're very different. So this is the first place we're going to start. So let's think about how most people are raised. Most people are raised to go to school, get really good grades, work hard at school, don't make mistakes because you'll get penalized. If you make a mistake in a test or an assignment, that's bad. You're going to get penalized, so don't ever have the wrong answer, don't ever make mistakes. But get good grades and then what? Go to university and then what? Go and get a good job in a good, safe, big corporation and work your way up the ladder. Now, there's a few problems with that. First of all, people spend well over a decade in the education system being taught that the last thing you ever want to do is go and make mistakes and work for yourself. In fact, most schooling systems don't even talk about the option of becoming an entrepreneur. They just assume that everyone's going to become an employee and they train you to become an employee, to do things, to follow structure, and again, not to make mistakes. And that's about the worst conditioning you could ever have if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, if you're not making lots of mistakes and on a regular basis, then you're not taking action. You're not really in the game. Now, the other thing people are taught is if you want to make more money, then what's the answer? You've got to work harder, get a better job, work longer hours, get a higher paying job. In other words, get paid more for trading your time away or trading your life away. That's the worst way to earn money. Okay, you don't want to earn a living, you want to receive profits. Okay, that's the big difference between working in a job and having your own high ticket affiliate marketing business like you're learning about in this training program. One of the first things that we have to do is we have to free our mind of all limiting beliefs that we have around making money online and having an online business. Let me ask you a few questions. If you wanted to become a lawyer, what would you need to go and do? you would need to go to university, get a law degree, depending on where you are. That could be 5 years, it could be 6 years, but there's a very clear path to becoming a lawyer. What if you wanted to become a doctor? Well, again, you would have to go to university, get very good grades to get into university, get that medical degree, which can take a long time, and again, there's a clear path to becoming a doctor. Most professions have a clear path. But what if you want to become, say, a multi-millionaire? What's the clear step-by-step path to becoming a multi-millionaire? Well, we're not really taught that in the normal education system. In fact, most people's training on becoming a multi-millionaire is non-existent. They wouldn't have the first clue because they've never been taught these things. But here's the point I'm making. It is teachable. It is learnable. Just like it's possible to learn everything you need to know about medicine to become a doctor or about law to become a lawyer, it's possible to learn everything you need to know to become a multi-millionaire. It's simply you getting the right training and then actually taking action. Well, let me tell you about one person who took action, and we already met John before, but John in California has made over $2.3 million with this system. Now, he's done that in his first less than 4 years. That's so far. By the time you watch this video, it could be, and it will very likely be, a lot more money. Now, here's my point. Do you think that John has a normal, ordinary mindset when it comes to making money and building a business? Do you think that John thinks like the masses out there? Absolutely not. He thinks very differently, as do all of our success stories. Anyone who's made over $1 million with this system, they all think very differently. And I'm going to introduce you to a few of their thinking patterns in just a moment. Oh, and by the way, if you work out what he's made so far, he's averaging over $60,000 a month. How would you like that? Well, it's possible with the system that you're learning about in these steps. So again, make sure you work through these steps, pay attention, work with your coach, because soon you will have the same opportunity right in front of you. Now, the funny thing is, John got introduced to this business in September of 2012, and I remember it very clearly. I was doing my second ever live event called At the Nitrous, and that was in California. John came along. He had never seen anything like this. He got involved, and he started making money very early on. Now, at that exact same seminar, we had other people there offered the same opportunity who today haven't made anywhere near as much as John. What's the difference? Is it because John's many times smarter than those average people? No, it's got nothing to do with that. Is it because John is many more times more charismatic than those other people? Again, no, that's not the answer. It's because John knows how to think like a millionaire. Okay, he has the right beliefs, the right thinking patterns, whereas those other people did not. So it all comes down to a person's mindset. What is going on in their head? What kind of thoughts are they having on a daily basis, on an hourly basis? Because that's really what determines all results in life. Conditioning or reconditioning our mind for maximum success in business is critical. Identifying and getting rid of any limiting beliefs from the past is a must. I find that one of the biggest things that holds a lot of people back in this industry is what we call paralysis by analysis. It's the tendency to want to get all the answers, want to learn all the information before you ever even take the first step. Okay, and you cannot think like that if you want to do well in this business. You have to be willing to take action even when you don't have all the answers in front of you. Now, where does this come from? Well, this comes from our education system, which punishes people when they make mistakes. In fact, it makes people afraid of making mistakes. And that's very harmful to the aspiring entrepreneur. Okay, so here's what my colleague Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, here's what he had to say. He said, "In school we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. Yet, if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk." It really is the same in business. And I want you to really understand the significance of that quote because it's so true. It really is. Here's another way of looking at it. So I'm sure you've heard this before. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. So he was asked about it by someone. They said, "How did you keep on going when you'd failed over 1,000 times to get it right?" And his response was, "I did not fail 1,014 times. I successfully found out what did not work 1,014 times. Now, I told you my story a little bit earlier on. I told you how I got started in late 2008 and I got off to a little bit of a slow start. The only reason that I am here today and have generated well over $100 million in revenue through internet marketing is because I was willing to make more mistakes and fail more often than many of my peers. It's got nothing to do with intelligence or anything like that. I'm a very average guy in those areas. The only thing I have going for me is a very stubborn persistence where if I want a result, like if I want to make a lot of money online, I'm going to try a lot of different things. I'm going to take action. I'm going to make mistakes along the way, but that's okay. That's my mentality. So I want you to start thinking like that. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to take action when there's uncertainty in front of you, when you don't have all the answers yet. It's okay to start taking action, and you should start taking action. So coming back to Robert Kiyosaki, you might know him best for his cash flow quadrant. In his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about it. And this is really something that I think sums up society really well. There's 4 quadrants. Okay, and you can divide anyone in the population to belonging in one of these quadrants. So most people are in E. Now E stands for employee. I would say over 90% of the population would be what you call an employee. They trade time for money. Their answer to making more money in life is to work longer hours, okay, or to get a higher paying job. But there's no leverage in that, okay, because the big constraint for them is their time. No matter what, you're never going to be able to have more than 24 hours in a day. So they end up working all their life for someone else, and they might like their job, they might be happy with that, but they're never going to become absolutely rich or financially free. And then the next best thing in my mind is the sales professional or the self-employed. So that's the S. Anyone who's in this quadrant is someone who gets paid more on results rather than just trading time for money. So for example, let's say you have someone who works on pure commission. They're selling a product. Well, that person, depending on how good they are, they could make a lot more money than an employee. In fact, I have some sales professionals in my own company within Mobe who make over $300,000 a year, and they are paid on pure commission. So not everyone who's not an employee is able to get into self-employed or become a sales professional, but the ones who do, if they have the right training, they can make a lot more money. Now what this requires is that you let go of the need for certainty. If you're getting paid on results, you don't have a guaranteed paycheck. Okay, so if you don't perform, you don't get paid. Not everyone's okay with that. Personally, I am. I'm a big believer in getting paid for the results that you actually bring to the table rather than trading time for money. Now, next up from that, we have B. B is business owner. Business owner is someone who leverages a system and also leverages other people's time, other people's money to go and bring them results. So this has a lot more potential as far as income, as far as time freedom, in many areas. So I would classify myself as a business owner. Mobe is a business. It is a system. It makes me money every single day. It makes a lot of our consultants a lot of money every single day because we use systems. Okay, so even though we have sales professionals, they are all part of a system, and that's a business owner. Now, beyond a business owner, you have an investor. So for an investor, think of Warren Buffett, okay, one of the richest people on the planet. Warren Buffett, last time I checked, was worth over $50 billion. Well, Warren Buffett owns a lot of different businesses. He owns either parts of them or he owns some businesses outright. His company, Berkshire Hathaway, is worth somewhere over $300 billion. And he's grown that from really just a very small business when he started out in his investment career to now being this big giant. Now, that's leverage. Okay, that's leverage because now you're leveraging other people's systems that they've created out there. So where everyone should be trying to get to is either becoming a business owner or an investor. The reason why you want to be on that side of the quadrant, you can make a lot more money and you can have a lot more time to enjoy your life. Okay, that's where maybe less than 3% of the population ever gets, but that 3% of the population They have probably over 80%, 90% of all the money. That's where you want to be. Here's what Robert Kiyosaki had to say. When people try and make the transition from employee to sales professional, self-employed, over to business owner and investor, one of the big struggles they have is they're afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to make mistakes along the way. And because of that, they're willing to settle for the guaranteed paycheck of being an employee in trading time for money. So they let that fear of failure really hold them back. Now here's my question to you. Right now at this point in time, as you're watching this video, if you look at all your income, the money that flows into your life on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, where's it coming from? Which side of the quadrant? Are you earning a paycheck as an employee, or are you earning commissions as a self-employed or sales professional? Over 90% of people are earning their money this way, and they have less than 10% of the wealth. Okay, so they're not making a lot of money. Whereas 10% of the people on the other side of the cash flow quadrant, they have what's called passive income. They hold over 90% of all the wealth. Again, that's the side you want to be on. If you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad yet, read it. It's a great book. Now, how do you make the shift from one side to another? Well, there's a few limitations that often hold a lot of people back, and really it's all in their mind. This is all mindset. Limitations are usually mindset, capital, time, education, skill, support, but really it's mostly just mindset. So first, you need to fix your mindset before you can change your financial results in life. If you try and change your financial results in life, but you still think like an employee, you still want to see everything laid out for you step by step, where you're afraid to take action and make mistakes. If you still think like that and have the wrong mindset, you're never going to get to the right side of the quadrant. Okay, so it all starts with mindset first. Now, one of the first big shifts we need to make, if you want to move from employee to business owner investor, is you have to realize you don't want to be working for your money where you're trading time for money. Instead, you want to either create or leverage systems that do the work for you. And therefore, you're not earning money anymore. You're not earning a wage. You are receiving profits. Jim Rohn had this to say. He said, profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. Another great author that I really respect is T. Harv Eker, and he wrote a book called Secret of the Millionaire Mind. This is the second of 3 books I'm going to recommend you read. So there's a few books. You've got a little bit of extra homework in this step. But again, if you read these books, if you understand them, and if you take action, you might spend $50 on the books. But this has the potential to possibly change your financial future forever. So the best investment you're ever going to make is always in yourself. I hope you really know that and you appreciate that. But this book, it's called Secret to the Millionaire Mind. So again, by T. Harv Eker. And someone once asked T. Harv, they said, what's the difference between poor people and wealthy people in mindset? And he listed them all out in the book. I want to take you through a few of these differences. And as I'm reading these out, I want you to be very honest with yourself and see what side of this table that you're on. Do you think like poor and middle class people, or do you think like wealthy people? Now, again, I want to make something clear. When I say poor and middle class, I'm not judging those people as people. I'm just describing their financial situation. So poor and middle class, the first belief they have is they believe that life happens to them. Have you ever met someone like that? They're always a victim. When you sit down with them for a coffee, they will gladly tell you about all the things that have been happening to them and how it's been all beyond their control, and they're just always reacting. They believe that their results in life, where they are today, is all due to factors outside of their control, the external world, other people, other situations, their upbringing, politicians, whoever, their boss, anyone. They never take responsibility. Whereas financially wealthy people, financially independent and rich people, they believe, I create my life. How much money I have in the bank account right now is completely my fault. Okay, it's completely my creation. There was a time when I had less than $100 in my bank account back in 2000, and this would have been 2009. And I'd started out with my online business, and in the very beginning, I got off to a little bit of a slow start. But even back then, when I had barely any money, I never blamed really anyone else. I didn't ever pass on the responsibility. I always accepted responsibility. And what that did is that empowered me, because I realized that even though I hadn't yet figured out the answers to change my financial situation, I knew it was within my power to do so. So if you're the kind of person who's always blaming external factors that are outside of your control, you're never going to take responsibility for your own financial results in life. Okay, so that's the first one. Poor middle class, they play the money game not to lose. They're always focused on what they might possibly lose. They hang on to their money too tightly. Okay, and I hope you really understand that, because to do well as an entrepreneur, I'm not saying that you need to be careless, but you can't clench onto your money where you are so terrified of even losing a small amount that you never take action. It will paralyze you. Okay, so you have to be willing to take calculated risks every so often, and also know that you might make mistakes along the way, but that's okay. Okay, so financially independent and rich people, they play the money game to win. Rather than focusing on the cost or the investment, they think about what's the return. That's what gets their attention. Poor middle class, they want to be rich. Everyone wants to be rich. They wouldn't buy lottery tickets if they didn't. So everyone wants to be rich. But financially independent, wealthy people, they don't just want to be rich, they need to be rich. They're committed to being rich. So while everyone else just wants it and dreams about it, people who become financially wealthy, people who end up being in the top 3% of all wealthiest people on the planet, to them, they are fully committed to going and getting that result. And there is a big, big difference. Part of the reason why I keep giving you statistics at the start of every one of these steps is because I want to show you what the average person does. The average person, even though they want to be rich, even though they want to make money online, they want to do well, the average person is not committed to doing well. So if you're still watching here on this step, we're not even halfway through yet, but I want to congratulate you, because at least you're here. Some people have already given up. So this shows me that you're at least somewhat committed. Keep on going. Commit to finishing these 21 steps at a bare minimum. Okay, a few other differences. So poor middle class, they think small, they think of limitations, they wish and they hope. I hope one day I'll win the lottery. I hope that I get this job. I hope that I get that bonus. Financially independent and rich people, they think big, think possibilities, and they dream a lot. We really do. I'm always dreaming about the future. I'm very excited about the future of Mobe, about the things I'm going to do. So I don't look at the future as being a predetermined thing. I look at it as being, wow, there's so much that I want to do and I want to create. The possibilities are endless. So start being really optimistic about what's possible. Poor and middle class, they focus on obstacles. So they find all the reasons why they can't move forwards. And this is a big one. They will say things like, oh, I don't have the money to start a business, or I don't have the time to start a business. Financially independent and rich, they focus on opportunities. They find a way around problems. Rather than saying, I don't have the money, they think, how can I find the money? Rather than saying, I don't have the time to start a business because I've got a full-time job, they think, well, how can I find an extra hour or 2 hours, either early in the morning or late at night? How do I find the extra time? Poor and middle class resent rich and successful people. They resent them. When they see them on TV, someone who's doing really well, they think thoughts like, oh, that person's greedy, that person, they should give away some of their money to those less fortunate. They immediately start thinking negative or limiting thoughts about people who are really successful. But you will find that most really financially successful people, when they hear about their peers doing well, they think, wow, good on that person. They're taking action, they're getting results, they're getting what they deserve in life. A few more. So poor and middle class, they associate with negative and unsuccessful people. I'm willing to make a bet right now that you might have some people in your life who are not supportive of your aspirations to make money online or to build a business. Maybe they think you are just outright wasting your time. Okay, we all have people like that in our lives. Well, people who become financially independent, who become wealthy, they choose to associate with other successful people or other people who are on their path or on the journey to becoming successful. When I first started out in this industry, and you'll read all about this in Limitless, my book, but when I first started out in this industry, I had friends, I had even family members who were very negative about my ideas to make money online. They thought I was getting scammed, they thought I was getting conned. They never made any supportive comments. So after about 6 months of putting up with this and trying to convince them otherwise, I realized I was never going to convince them, and instead I would just show them. So I stopped talking about the business with them. If they started asking me about the business, I just refused to even talk about it with them. And what I started to do was I would go to these live training seminars all around the world, and I would meet other aspiring entrepreneurs. And I started to form my own support network of other people who were like me. Poor and middle class, they think negatively about selling and promoting. So those are the people who are worried about being sold to. But the interesting thing is, people who become financially successful, they don't mind being sold to at all. I personally don't mind being sold to. I actually quite enjoy it. I like to watch the process, and I want to be sold. I actually enjoy it. So if you resent people selling to you, well, guess what? When it comes time for you to start promoting or selling or building your own business, if you resent trying to offer value to people in exchange for money, if you resent having that done to you, do you think you're going to be able to do that to other people? Probably not. Okay, so you've got to be very careful of that thinking pattern. Poor middle class, they are smaller than their problems. So if they have a problem, they will make their problem or problems into these giant mountains that are just too big for them. Financially successful people, they're bigger than their problems. They know that this is a challenge right now, but I'll find a way around it. I'll get through this, I'll work it out. Poor middle class, they are poor receivers. You try and offer them something, they will say something like, oh, I could never accept that. Financially independent people, they are perfectly fine with accepting things because they know they deserve it. It's a different mindset. Poor and middle class, they choose to get paid based on time, whereas financially independent, wealthy people choose to get paid on results. Poor and middle class think either or. I can either do this or I can do that. I can either have a job and focus on that, or I can try and do this business thing and quit my job and put everything at risk. Financially independent people, they think, well, how do I do both? How can I do both at the same time? Okay, they don't force themselves to choose one or the other. They find creative ways to do more than one thing. So just a few more. Poor and middle class, they focus on their working income, instant gratification. Part of the reason why they're not willing to take a chance and build a business is because they would rather go to work or go and do a job where they know exactly what they're going to get paid. Even if it's not much, they have that certainty that they're going to get paid and it's going to be a fixed amount. Okay, so they have that reassurance, that safety net. Whereas financially independent and rich people, they're okay to postpone gratification. They're okay to build something today and take smaller rewards in the short term, knowing that in the long term they will get far bigger rewards. For my first year in internet marketing, I didn't make a whole lot. I will be completely upfront with you about that. I really didn't whatsoever. And if I'd gone and got a job, I probably could have made 50 times what I made with my online business in those first 12 months. However, I was willing to take much less in the short term because I knew long term, if I keep at this, I can do really well. And today I'm glad that I did. So be willing to postpone your gratification until later. Poor and middle class, they mismanage their money, they buy liabilities, whereas financially independent, wealthy people, they buy assets. I see this so many times. I see people who are afraid or unwilling to invest in business training or invest in businesses, in other words, assets, because they will say things like, I don't have the money, yet later on I see them a day later or a week later, they're out buying things that they don't need, buying new clothes, buying new shoes. So they're willing to spend money on liabilities, things that cost them money and will never make them more money. Whereas people who become wealthy, we like to first spend our money on things that will create even more money. Okay, that's how we get our money working for us, rather than always being on that hamster wheel working for the money. Poor middle class, they work hard for their money, whereas wealthy people have their money work hard for them. Again, they invest in a business, in someone else's business, in assets. Their money is doing the work. Poor middle class, they let fear stop them. Financially independent and rich people. Here's one of the most important ones. Often, when people hear about a really successful entrepreneur or someone who's making a lot of money online, they think, wow, that person is so courageous. You know, they took a chance and they really went and did well. They must be so brave. They must not have any fear whatsoever like me. Here's what you got to realize. Some of the most successful people have just as much or even a lot more fear than you and everyone else. The only difference is they act in spite of that fear. Okay, so for example, in my case, there are definitely parts of my business where I have fear, and I always had fear. For example, we do a lot of seminars around the whole world. We've been to probably over about 25 countries now. And when I first started doing seminars, public speaking was a major, major fear for me. I didn't want to do it at all. It was about the last thing on earth I wanted to do. So I never got over that fear. I still have it to this day, but I've learned to just act in spite of it. Okay, that's the difference. And it's the same thing with investing in a business. You might have fears about it, about this idea of you going full-time into your own business and really taking this seriously. You might have fears about it, but what's going to determine whether you get results in business or not really is whether you act in spite of that fear. Poor and middle class, they think that they know it all. They think that they have all the answers already. Whereas financially wealthy people, financially independent people are always learning. When they finish school, they don't stop learning. Okay, they're always investing in themselves. Later on in these steps, I'm going to tell you about all the investing that I do in my own education. I can document over $500,000 that I've invested in training products, consulting, basically my own education over the last 6 or so years, over $500,000. And I don't stop. Just because I'm getting results and I'm making money online, it doesn't mean I stop investing in myself. So the fact that you're here, congratulations, you're investing in your own education. That's great. Now, throughout the rest of these steps, you're going to learn about a system, a marketing system, which has made a lot of people a lot of money. Commissions from $1,250 right up to $10,000. The same system, as I've already told you, has paid out over $67 million in commissions. You're also going to be trained on how to use that marketing system, and your coach is going to be your greatest asset out of all the training in this program. They really are. But the one essential ingredient that you need to make all of this work is what it is. You must take full responsibility for your own results. We will show you the training, okay, we will give you the coaching, but you must be the person to actually take action. Think of it this way. We're going to give you the car. Okay, you're going to be sitting behind the steering wheel, but it's not going to go to the destination itself. You must be the one to actually put your foot down on the accelerator and steer. Okay, so just make sure you accept full responsibility because that is needed. So the next thing I want to talk about is your why. What's your why for doing this? You've got to have a really big why. The one thing that I can guarantee you if you're building a business is you're going to have challenges. You're going to have small challenges along the way, but every so often you're going to have the big catastrophic challenges as well. Believe me, you will, and they never end. That's all part of being an entrepreneur. But as long as you have a strong enough why, a strong enough reason why you're doing all of this, then you will be able to get through all of those challenges. So I want you to really think about that right now. Maybe even pause this video. What's your reason why? Why are you doing this? Why is it so important to you to have your own online business, to reach those financial targets that you want to get to? Why is that important to you? It would actually be really good if you could actually pause this and write down some of those reasons why. And also remember this quote, "He who has a why can endure any how." It's very true. Again, if you have a strong enough why, you'll be able to find any way, any method to achieving the result you want. Now, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have challenges along the way. And the first challenge will be changing the way you do things and also your own thinking patterns. And the one thing we know for sure about the human mind is that it doesn't like change. It likes to remain within certain comfort zones. And it's also really good at And it's also very good at rationalizing, okay, coming up with reasons why it has this pre-accepted belief. So at the moment you try and do something outside of your comfort zone, your mind will start automatically giving you all the reasons why you shouldn't, why it's a bad idea, why you should remain within that comfort zone. So here's an example. Do you right now have any doubt that eating healthy, nutritious food and having a regular exercising program in place where you exercise each day or 5 days a week, do you have any doubt that that's important? Do you have any doubt that that is the way that you lose weight and you get in great shape? Of course not. Yet, why do most people not do it every single day? Well, again, it's because their mind rationalizes why they don't need to. So for example, let's say you try and start some kind of exercise program. You go down to your local gym, you sign up for a 1-year membership, and you have every intention to go and exercise 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you do it maybe for the first week, and you think, great, I'm making progress, this is going good. But then in your second week, it's Monday, and things are just really busy at work or in your family life. You've got a lot happening, and before you know it, it's time to go to the gym, but you've just got so much going on that your mind says something like, well, it's okay if you take today off, you'll go tomorrow to make up for it. But then Tuesday rolls around and again, you're busy and you think, well, I said Monday, Wednesday, Friday, tomorrow's Wednesday, I'll just go tomorrow. The moment that you start thinking like that, you're already rationalizing why you don't need to continue to go through with it. It's the same with eating really healthy food. Okay, so you have that decision between eating the healthy food versus the food that tastes really good and maybe it's not that good for you, and you rationalize it by saying something like, well, I deserve it, this one time won't hurt. Or what's the point in eating healthy because progress is so slow, it's not going to hurt if I have one extra slice of pizza. But what you find is if someone gets in a situation where getting healthy, getting fit and taking care of themselves now becomes a necessity, finally they're able to start actually doing all of those regular exercise programs and eating healthy food. For example, let's say that someone ends up in hospital because they have heart problems because they've been eating bad food and not exercising for the last 2 decades. And let's say that the doctor tells them that, look, if you don't make a change, if you continue at this current rate that you're going at, if you don't make some changes, you're actually not even going to make it beyond the next 2 years. So suddenly it goes from being a want to now being a necessity. Now you have to get healthy because it's a matter of life and death. So now you commit to the program. You commit to the program because your why, which happens to be, I want to survive, I want to live, it's big enough. Okay, it's big enough to outweigh all those little rationalizing thoughts that you have that stop you from making progress. And you have a similar parallel in business. So you might be coming up with all kinds of rationalizations about why you can't do well in business or why you can't get ahead. For example, here's a very common one. People say, well, money, I don't have the money. I don't have the money to advertise. I don't have the money for the right training. I don't have enough money for the right business opportunity. So their big excuse is lack of money. Really though, what that is, that's just their brain wanting to keep them within their own little comfort zone. So a more empowering thinking process is to ask yourself, well, how might I be holding myself back from going and actually finding the money? If you want it enough and your why is big enough, you will always find a way. Here's another one. I don't have the time. That's a big excuse I hear for a lot of people, even people who go through these steps. They say, well, I don't have the time to finish these steps. I don't have the time to do what my coach advises me to do. I don't have the time to do the things that will make me money in this business. Well, again, you've got to ask yourself, well, how might I find the time? What things am I doing right now in my day-to-day that I could give up or I could put on hold for a bit to start my business so I can have enough time? Because really, you are in complete control over how you spend your time. No one else is. You have 24 hours in a day, just like me, and how you spend your time is completely within your control. Now, I know you might have obligations, you might have a lot of responsibilities, lots of people do, but still, you have complete control over whether you find extra time, even if it's 30 minutes a day, to do this. You can find the time if you want to badly enough. What I always like to say is you have the same amount of time in your day as millionaires and multi-billionaires have. So really, it's a choice. How do you want to spend your time? Now, if your excuse is about the money and you're saying, well, it's too expensive to get into business, then I might also suggest you ask yourself, isn't it more risky long-term not to do the things that are going to move you out of your current financial situation and create the financial results you actually desire in life? Okay, so you can spend the rest of your days being frustrated, looking for the next shiny object that promises you instant riches for no real investment of your time or money online, and there's lots of them out there. Okay, believe me, there's lots of them out there. Or you can join and be fully committed to this marketing system, which we are revealing to you through these steps, and you can make this the one business that changes everything in your life financially. When you're making the $1,250 commissions, $3,300, $5,500, and even right up to $10,000 on each sale, it doesn't take that many sales to get to where you want to go financially. Now, while we're on the subject of mindset, I want to talk about critics. So, do you have critics in your life right now? And I asked you this before, but do you have anyone in your life right now who's really not on board with what you're doing or your aspirations to be an entrepreneur? So, how do you handle them? So, first of all, recognize that no matter what, you're always going to have critics. And the more successful you become, the more critics you're going to have. I have a lot of critics out there, a lot of people who like to criticize me, what I'm doing, my company. That comes with the territory. You can't find any successful company in the world that doesn't have a lot of critics. Even big companies like Apple, Samsung, any of the biggest companies in the world, if you go on Google and you look for all their critics and their bad reviews on their products or whatever it is, you can find all of that. So it comes with the territory. Here's my advice. Just ignore the critics and do your own due diligence. Make up your own mind. Don't let other people make up your mind for you. People who become millionaires, they don't listen to what the masses think or the masses do, because the masses don't know. That's why the masses on average don't really have a lot of money. They make their own decisions, they make their own conclusions, and they make their own decision, and they take action without needing to get the approval of everyone else. But if you do want to avoid criticism, well, here's the only way. You can say nothing, you can do nothing, and you can be nothing. Okay, now I'm sure that's not what you want, so just accept having critics as all part of the process. Now, when it comes to criticisms of business models, I found this quite interesting. Franchising has been incredibly successful as a business model. It has been worth many, many billions of dollars. In the US, franchises have produced over $521 billion in revenue. Yet, did you know that it wasn't that long ago that the whole business model of franchising, and in the first half of the 20th century, franchising was actually put under legal review. So when that business model came along, there were a lot of critics of it. Now it's a lot more accepted, okay, and it's become a very important part of the economy. My point is, with what you're learning here with this business model, even affiliate marketing, there's people out there who don't understand it, who are going to be critical of it, don't really pay too much attention to what they think or what they say. Okay, it really doesn't matter, because if it works, then why not just go with it? If it's working for a lot of other people, then it can work for you too. Here's one of my favorite stories about ignoring the critics. So Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, he was at Yale University, and this was in 1965. So he's doing his undergraduate degree there, and he wrote a paper for his professor which actually contained an outline for a delivery service that would use a hub and spokes concept, which is what FedEx uses to this day. His professor wasn't impressed, and he told him all the reasons why it wouldn't work, why it was a bad idea, and for his grade he gave Fred Smith a C. Okay, not an A or a B, but a C. Well, that hub and spoke concept actually formed the backbone of FedEx, and that company is now a multi-billion-dollar company. It does somewhere over $40 billion in revenue every single year. Now, here's my question to you. What if Fred Smith had listened to this Yale professor, his critic? What if he'd listened to that critic and not actually started FedEx? Well, he would be with a lot less money today, and society would also have lost something that's really useful for us, which is the service that FedEx provides. So again, don't listen to the critics. You want to immerse yourself with successful people. So get to live events. We have a lot of live events in Mobe. You will learn about them as you go through these steps. But if you get a chance to attend a live event, then do it. Okay, go and meet other people who are on the same path as you. And also remember, mobeinspiration.com. By now, you should have opted in. If you haven't done it, please pause this video right now, go to mobeinspiration.com, put in your email address, and get these daily inspirational videos sent to you, because this will really help you to have the right mindset to do well in this business. Now, the other important bit of homework I'm going to give you, and I want you to do this every day because this will really, really help you. We have something called the Mobe Daily Power Up Training Call. And it's a short call. Sometimes it goes for 10 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes 20 minutes. But it's done every single day. It's in the morning USA time. If you're outside of America, then it might be some other time. Regardless, start listening to that call every single day. Try and be on the live call, but if you can't be on the live call for some reason, then you can listen to the recording. I will put a link to that. Again, it's called the Mobe Daily Power Up Call. I will put that below this video in the text. I want you to commit to start listening to that every single day. Believe me, it's really, really going to help you have the right mindset to do well in this business. And also, you can find those calls actually on iTunes too. So if you want to download them, put them on your phone, then you can. Then that way you can take them with you. And in the text below, we'll put a link so you can go and find all of that. So congratulations on completing step 3. You're doing amazing. And as a special gift to you, once you complete this step, I am going to send you a copy of my book, Limitless, in the mail completely for free. Now, this book, it'll take maybe a week, possibly longer, depending on where in the world you are to actually arrive to you. We will try and get this to you as soon as possible. All we need you to do is to reach out to your coach, confirm your mailing address, and then we will get this to you in the mail as soon as possible. But when Limitless arrives, I want you to start reading it. I want you to commit to reading at least 10, 15, even 20 pages a day. If you can read more, great. But read the book because it walked you through my entire high-ticket affiliate marketing business model, and it shows you how you can leverage that same business model for yourself and start making high-ticket commissions. So in the next step, here's what we're going to do. We're going to show you how to make earning your first 6 or even 7 figures infinitely easier when you choose the right niche, the right business model, and the right products to promote online. We're going to walk you through all of that. And then in the step after that, we're actually going to show you the second best business model in the world, why it's so powerful, and also the importance of having scalable systems in your business that you can leverage and that you can make a lot of money with. So here's your action steps. There's 3 books that I want you to read. One is Limitless, which once you complete this step will be put in the mail, so that'll be arriving pretty soon. Remember, you also have the audio version of it that you should have been able to download in the previous step. So if you haven't started listening to it, go back and download it, put it on your phone, take it with you, listen to it in the car or when you're out walking, but start listening to that every day until the book arrives, and then also start reading it. The other book is The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, you can either get Rich Dad Poor Dad or The Cash Flow Quadrant. Both are great. Get both if you can. Very good books. Also, another book I'm going to recommend is The 4-Hour Work Week. Now, this is by Tim Ferriss. This is a really, really good book. This will challenge a lot of your preconceived notions about what it takes to make a full-time income and also about what a standard work week looks like. Okay, so this is a really, really good book, one of the best that I've ever read. Make sure you get this one. Start reading them all. Okay, just a few pages every day, but start immersing your mind in this kind of training. Now, the most important action step is I want you to find your why. Why are you doing this? Why is building this business and reaching your financial targets, which I hope you're discussing with your coach, but why is that so important to you? And I want you to go deep with this. I want you to really ask why, okay, on a deep level. Not just because I want to make some extra money, okay, that's not a really good reason why. Why do you want to make that extra money? So what I want you to do is ask, well, why is this important? When I have the money, what am I going to do with it? Who am I going to do it with? How will we enjoy it? How will my life be different? I want you to go really deep in this thought process and identify what's your real reason why. Why do you want this so badly? And for those of you who want to go on and potentially become a top earner, I've got some extra training for you too in the Top Earner Extra Training section. So go ahead, watch those videos. There's quite a few of them there, but they're really good content. This will really take your understanding of this step to a whole new level. So go ahead and watch those as well. Okay, I will see you in the next step. Keep going, don't lose this momentum you've got, and we'll speak soon.